Pat Mayo Hour.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Hour, UFC Glasgow DraftKings picks and preview. We're breaking it all down for you. GPP, cash game, maybe even a bonus lineup or two. And hopefully, we can get back on track because my bank account could use it, right? Cody Saftic?
Some offhand picks last week. However, greasy European cards. That's usually the time
That
to
is
find
usually
the
here.
real value. So
Before we get into that, you covered the Mayweather Conor presser.
yeah, in Toronto, which seemed to be the good press conference.
Did you have like highlights from what happened?
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun time. It was a good time.
What were the best parts about it?
The best parts about it were some lady who somehow got media credentialed, who got on like press row and basically like got in the Mayweather scrum and was just like, "What kind of watch you wear?" And he's just like, "A Hublot, cost me $1 million." She's just like, "Oh, can I get a fist bump?" He's like, "Okay." And then as he's leaving, she just leans over the railing with her cell phone, just gives it to him. He just pops in his number, hands it back, walks off. I was like, you got a media credential. You physically are with a camera guy. You're covering something. And yet you just came here to simply skank it up. I guess that's the kind of appeal Floyd has on people, the kind of swing and, pull. But to be honest with you, like I briefly had...
You got to talk to Floyd.
That's the thing, and this is like a story that kind of just has like a little extra meaning to me, but in 2007, I went to a house party, and it was Floyd Mayweather versus Ricky Hatton. Floyd was 39-0 at the time. Ricky Hatton was 43-0 at the time. My buddy's a gigantic Man City fan. Man City sucked at the time, but all the same, Ricky Hatton was a big Man City guy. So we get together at this massive house party, and I just tell the guy, I'm like, God, I'm going to put this Floyd fight on. He's just like, well, what does it cost? I'll pay you back. Never paid him back. But... pay it back. Let's put it on. So I put this Floyd fight on. Like, everybody around me is just partying, having a good time. I was like, I want to watch that fight. That was something that interested me. I've covered every single fight this guy's had since then. I've watched every single fight this guy's had since then. He was 39-0 at the time. He won that fight against Hatton. He moved to 40-0. He's now 49-0. So he had fought, nine times since after that, right? And just to finally meet the guy face to face.
How old were you then?
16? 15, 16 years old, probably 15 years old.
And now you got to cover a presser and interview him.
And now I'm looking at the guy, right in the eyes. Like, I'm face to face with him. Like, we're closer than you and I sitting right now. And I get to ask him some questions. And listen, did everybody ask the questions on the first day? Absolutely. Did the whole thing got beaten down? Absolutely. But I was able to go out there and talk about Arturo Gatti, a Canadian fighter we fought in 2005. And to me, that was something interesting. To me, that was something nobody else was going to talk about. Just to be able to, like, it felt full circle, to be honest with you. It felt like back in the day when I was sitting on a couch ordering this pay-per-view for $50 and just being like, oh man, like maybe someday I'll be able to meet Carlos Newton or Shoney Carter. And then you do meet those guys and it's like, oh, and then you meet guys like Frank Yeager and you meet Cyborg Justino and you meet people that become world champions or former world champions. And it's surreal. But then to finally meet Floyd, like maybe that was the crowning jewel. Like, listen, by the way, I interviewed Dana White the same day. Like Conor McGregor was there. Like they were all there. But nothing really stuck out as much to me as Floyd because been following him for a long time. It's been almost a decade. They fought in December, him and Hatton, so it's almost 10 years exactly. And I don't know, it was just a surreal experience for me. So MMA is number one, first and foremost, but you would have to be completely out of your mind if you think that Floyd's going to lose this fight.
See, but
I don't understand.
The thing is, they're doing such a good job of promoting this fight.
Yeah, him especially.
It's incredible.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And Floyd is taking the track where he's coming out and saying, like, oh, what do you say? He's like, if I don't finish within 6 rounds here, like, this is embarrassing for me, which is true, by the way.
Yeah.
But,
he's not okay, no, I hear you.
I know that he's not a knockout punch.
He is, though. 26 career knockouts.
When was the last time he knocked someone out?
Victor Ortiz, and they say it's a sucker punch.
And how long ago was that?
5 years.
5 years. And before that was the last time he knocked someone out?
Ricky Hatton. He demolished Ricky Hatton.
So, like, 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
Yeah, but he's fighting a guy that isn't a boxer, so that's going to be problematic for Conor. But just the way that they're selling it, people are buying into the fact that Conor could win this fight.
Yeah, but you know what? It's all about being able to go out there and sell the fight itself. Like,
and they're doing that.
Yeah, look at pro wrestling.
They're doing a tour.
If you're good on the microphone, then nothing else really matters. But let me ask you a serious, honest question, right? If LeBron James was like, you know what? I could be a starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys. People that are big LeBron fans would be like, dude, this guy's a freak athlete, man. He's so big, he can just plow through people. The fact is, he can't. He cannot be a running back for any National Football League team. He cannot be a running back in the CFL.
He could be a tight end in the NFL.
If he had done that since he was a kid. He cannot just pick it up at the stage.
No, that is the one position in football where if you're a bad, like Antonio Gates.
You don't know, but you're just assuming
you don't know.
He's good at one sport
I
and
agree.
another one. That's crazy. That's ludicrous.
But at least there's a different property to the athleticism that we go into basketball and go into football. boxing is such a weird outlier for the sort of footwork you need to have, for sort of movement.
But isn't Conor a movement guy? Doesn't he have great footwork? Isn't he bigger than Floyd and he's younger than Floyd?
I feel
and
like
he's got heavy hands. I mean, people just make up arguments, and you can't say your argument's not valid because that makes you the douchebag. Yeah, but you have to understand what they're saying, and I do understand what they're saying. It doesn't add up.
But it'd be like the world's checker champion all of a sudden thinks he can take on Gary Kasparov, the world chess champion.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? It's not the same thing.
The comparison that I was using was the best guy. You take the #1 triathlete in the world, right? And this guy can cycle, and he can run, and he can swim.
And you put him up against the best marathoner, the marathoner.
Yeah, he can't beat Michael Phelps. It's just it can't happen. Boy, man, this guy's world class. I get he's world class, but like what he does in the pool, as impressive as it may or may not be, is just it's not the same. And so when I think people say, well, Floyd's got no punching power. See, first of all, he's wearing a boxing glove. So I think it's different punching power than you're going to face in the MMA world. Then you factor in that he's knocked out 26 people. It's like, well, he's knocked out more people than pretty much any person currently signed to the UFC roster. Okay, so there's always arguments. Well, who's he fighting? All world champions, by the way.
He's old, though.
Yeah, but the thing is that this is a guy who spent the last 35 years of his 40-year existence on this planet only throwing punches. That's all he does is throw punches.
Not arm bars.
Yeah, so he's a lot better at throwing punches than someone who picked it up at 15 and does it in between throwing kicks and learning jiu-jitsu and learning takedowns and doing all this stuff. I mean, there's no doubt that, listen, he's good on the microphone. He can sell a hell of a fight. He's a hell of an MMA fighter. And I get the whole, well, he's bigger. You know, Canelo was bigger.
If this was an MMA fight, Conor beat him in like 30 seconds, wouldn't he?
Okay, it's funny you say that. So a friend of mine was at the event, right? And we're talking, whatever. And then he's there with a couple guys from his gym. And there's this one guy. He's 5-0. He's a American top team Kansas City prospect.
And he's like, right? I would beat Floyd in an MMA fight?
No, he didn't say it. I said it. I was like, you would beat Floyd in a fight. If this was an actual fight where no one's going to jump in, you would take him down and you would absolutely dominate him. But you cannot beat Conor McGregor. You can't. It's just a fact, right? When I was talking about the Stipe Miocic getting it into it with Anthony Joshua, Stipe Miocic is the UFC heavyweight champ. Anthony Joshua is regarded as one of the best heavyweight boxers in the world, but not the best heavyweight boxer in the world.
One of them.
Yeah, and then Stipe's like, hey, you and I should get a boxing match going. This guy, uses the old Conor McGregor line, who the fuck are you? And he's like, I'm the consensus toughest man on the planet, and you're not even the toughest guy in Britain. Like, there's different levels to this, but you're going into their backyard, and you're doing specifically what they do better than anybody else, and boxers are they're a lot more advanced in hand-to-hand technique than an MMA fighter is. So the other thing you got to factor in is that this thing goes 12 rounds, which people are, it'll go 12 rounds because Floyd runs away. That's a long time.
And Floyd wins for sure if it goes 12 rounds.
Yeah, well, considering he's gone 12 rounds 20 times in his career, versus Conor, who you can't compare 5-minute rounds to 3-minute rounds. You can't compare 25 minutes in a UFC fight compared to the 36 minutes in a boxing match because, quite frankly, it's a lot more taxing throwing kicks to begin with, right? So, he got tired against Nate Diaz. Well, he was doing a lot of techniques against Nate Diaz. He's probably going to...
huge, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to be able to conserve against Floyd, but it's apples and oranges. This is not him saying, I'm going to take on, the 20th guy in the world. This is, I'm going to take on the pound-for-pound greatest boxer of this generation. And listen, is he getting a little bit older? Absolutely. Is he getting a little bit shot? Absolutely. But he's playing the game, Pat. He's playing the game so that he's telling people, I'm old and I'm shot. It makes no sense. Why would you ever say that? Oh, yeah, because you want people.
You need people to buy this fight.
You have to.
Right now, the betting line is -600 for Mayweather.
Yeah.
Should I bet it now, or is there a chance that gets even better for me?
Yeah, well, see, I would say it's going to get better
for you.
If
I was a book and I was a bookie, I get that people are betting on Conor, and that's where the line has dictated where it is. But doesn't this fight feel like it should be like -2,500?
Yeah, it should. And this is where I think bookies, I don't know.
They have to take the action on the other side.
Yeah, they have to take out the action on the other side. The issue that I'm seeing is that the people that are betting McGregor
are betting $10. The people who are betting Mayweather are betting 10,000.
Exactly. There's actually quite a few people betting McGregor, but they're betting $5 and $10. And you know what they're doing? They're betting McGregor on the inside 3 rounds KO prop to try to get good value, and that's the only way they see it playing off in their head. Oh, is this bigger? And I see what he did to Jose Aldo. It's like, are you listening to the shit that's coming out of your mouth right now? I feel bad for Brendan Schaub because he's actually a smart guy, and he's basically been put in this role where he's the former UFC fighter that has to sit on a stage and say, I think Conor's gonna win. And you can even tell this guy's starting to think to himself, the fuck do I got myself into? It's a little ridiculous. However, no matter as I say, I think it's crazy, and I'm not trying to talk down on anybody. The fact is, it's a fight, right? And anything can happen in a fight, and everybody knows that. But just with boxing, less of a chance of anything happening because it's a 10-ounce boxing glove, right? It's a 3-minute round. You're taking on the greatest defensive gem of all times. And this is not, well, James Toney was a defensive gem. He fell apart. No, it's not James Toney. This is not a guy that got fat and out of shape and let himself go. He's a guy that's actually made $800 million in his career. He is a prize fighter. He is on a different level. And he literally has a 100-person entourage on his salary. And they're all there to make sure he's got everything he needs. So, I don't know. I mean, it's just a tough sell for me. But am I going to watch it? Absolutely.
Yes,
I'm not one of those people who are like,
I'm definitely going to watch it.
Stupid. I'll watch Phelps race a shark.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
It was just like when Ocho Cinco raced that giraffe and beat him.
Yeah.
By the way,
exactly.
I watched.
You know what? I always like the premise of pros versus Joes for the simple fact that you're like, there's no way this regular athlete can take on Deion Sanders. Wow, Deion Sanders is real old right now. And like this other guy literally just finished a D2 scholarship. So like, hey, let's see what happens. And the old guy usually wins. But you can get one over. It's possible. I don't think this is the same case, but all the same, right? Like, it's not a foregone conclusion he can't win. It's just probability would suggest that at least minus 1,000 Floyd would be the right move, but you got to have people betting Floyd still, so they're keeping it in the middle.
Last thing. This was the Toronto press conference. Which side was Drake on? Because I saw he was there.
Yeah, so he's there, and then it was a weird situation because he's playing both sides of the fence.
Of course
right?
he is.
No Conor, what a great guy. Love watching UFC fights. Oh, Floyd, greatest boxer of all time. Love watching boxing matches. Oh, yeah, check out this guy from my OVO brand. It's just like, oh, dude, is that all you're here for?
It was all he was there for.
It's all he was there for. But all the same, like, you know, you got to support your city. Toronto, we don't get a lot of love a lot of the time because, like, free agents don't want to sign here. Like, what do you want to come here? But there's been this, like, culture change the last couple of years where it seems like Toronto's cool and trendy and hipster.
Drake has a lot to do with that.
And he has a lot to do with that. So him
as much
going
as people,
out there.
like, don't like Drake, he does have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, someone was saying the other day, they're like, you know, Conor's, it's tough being the biggest douchebag on the stage when you're up there with Floyd Mayweather and Drake. I was like, yeah, Ray Ellerby, you know, like it's a freak show, but they get what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be crazy to think people have this genuine assumption that like these guys have never spoken before, and that just like this is animosity building up
they
on.
Probably set out. Here's what we're gonna say to each other.
I don't doubt that they've had dinner together before. I don't doubt that they were like. Here's another thing you got to say. Think it to yourself. I know you don't watch a whole lot of fighting, but whenever you watch weigh-ins, whenever you watch any of this stuff, right, and then two fighters with some heat and some good momentum and all that, when they square off on a stage, there's always security there. There's always someone that gets them to, okay, guys, all right. Okay, picture's done. Separate. They allow them to stand toe-to-toe with nobody around, face-to-face, talking shit, because they know neither guy's going to touch the other guy. It's all part of the agreement. When Conor picks up that bag of money, and he's going to throw the bag of money in the guy. No. It's a $25,000 bag, at least. He's not going to throw the bag. It's just not going to happen. It's all planned. Even the making it rain. It was $1 bills. I can't imagine that they spent more than $1,000, but he threw it all real neat on the stage so that somebody could come out after the fact and pick it back up. Yeah, like the whole thing is just ridiculous. But it's showmanship.
It's great. It's highly entertaining to watch. That's why I'm in. I'm in on the fight.
I'll tell you what. You know who's got a sweet chin music? Shawn Michaels. You know who throws an equally good one? Stevie Richards. You know the difference? Shawn Michaels comes flying out of the rafters with a rhinestone vest on and a sweet song, and he sells it. And he plays the part, and he's a far better wrestler. But you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, showmanship goes a long way, and what you have here is perhaps not the two best fighters on the planet, but you have the two best showmen. So that's what's happening.
UFC Glasgow, cash game, hit me.
Yeah, a lot less charisma on this card, but let's get going.
It has Gunnar Nelson, Mighty Ducks 2's Gunnar Nelson.
Gunnar! I know.
And you know he's on your team.
No, so he is. And then I'm going to have to explain this. Cash, I decided to double up.
Okay.
Gunnar's got a ridiculously high price on him right now. In fact, if you look at the betting line where he opened up as a 2-1 favorite, money's coming in on Ponzinibbio. Thing is, DraftKings never factors that in. They set a price, and that's the price. So when you look at $8,900 for Gunnar Nelson, you best hope that Gunnar Nelson's going to go out there and put him away. But I've got some mixed thoughts on that. So yes, we'll talk about my cash.
You have both.
We'll talk about my GPP, and there's going to be some fighters that appear on both, but it's a lot of has to do with value.
You like Ponzinibbio in this fight to win?
No, but when I look at that
he's
price,
on your GPP team, so he better fucking win.
Well, he's on my GPP team. He has 5 rounds to deal with here, and then we talk about. Look at last week. Okay, 2 weeks ago, it blew up in my face. Yes, it was supposed to last a little bit longer, and he would have been able to work his game. Didn't happen. Last week, though, we talked about if Whitaker can get out of the early rounds, he'll lose the early rounds against Yoel Romero. But if he can get him to deep water, that's what he'll make him pay.
I thought it was the other way around.
No, Yoel Romero's the front runner. He can win the first 2 rounds, and you know what? He did win the first 2 rounds. It's just that 3, 4, and 5 all had to go Whitaker's way, and they all went Whitaker's way.
But we took Romero.
Because that was a GPP. You hope that he's going to smash early, right? What I'm saying is, this is a situation where if you're Gunnar Nelson, you can do it all. I mean, listen, he's got fantastic stand-up, very underrated, but he's very smart on his feet. You know, he picks the right punch, and a lot of the time, he'll drop you, and that's his mean as getting on top of you. When he gets on top of you, he's a house on fire. He will just completely make you pay. He will burn you. He will submit you. Thing is that he's taken on a guy in Santiago Ponzinibbio, never been submitted in his career. Been knocked out twice against, you know, fairly heavy power punchers, but has never been submitted. So can Gunnar Nelson drop him? Yeah, I don't see no reason to believe why not. But Ponzinibbio is the better striker. At least he certainly should be. He's bigger. He's stronger. He seems to be a little more athletic. He certainly has the strength advantage. And training at American Top Team, he has a plethora of good quality training partners that are no doubt trying to take him down day in and day out. Shooting a takedown on this guy is very difficult. Now, when you look at the guys he's beating, there's nobody that jumps off the list like, oh my God, he's torched Court McGee. But stuff that is impressive is he torched Court McGee. And nobody knocks out Court McGee, let's be real here. But this guy has some legitimate punching power. Guys like Zach Cummins. Zach Cummins is as rugged as it gets. To be able to just beat this guy, keep the fight standing, keep him away, use your speed, use your agility, great. The last fight with Nordine Taleb, maybe not the greatest performance in the world, but the fact is, you overcame a little bit of adversity, you beat this guy up, and you showed that through 3 rounds, everyone was thinking maybe he's a front runner. He knocks guys out so fast. In his last 2 fights, they've gone the distance, and you know what? He hasn't looked bad. His cardio's not so bad. He's 30 years old. He's probably in the prime of his life right now. This is a big opportunity for him. Do I think Gunnar Nelson wins this fight? I would have to think so, yes. For 2-1, I don't like it. I'd be one of those guys that would say keep away from 2-1. As it gets to -160, very tempting. But the most tempting thing is, when you look at that price tag on Ponzinibbio, $7,300. So in a cash game situation, he does have 5 rounds to work with. Could he get finished early? Yeah, it's possible. And certainly this price is indicating that he might. But I don't think so. I think that he's a rugged guy. And if you're Gunnar Nelson, you got to stay away from this guy. Stay away from the power. You want to mix it up with him, but you have to be smart. And being smart is going to allow you to move around on the outside, wait for that opportunity. And in waiting for that opportunity, Ponzinibbio could strike. Now, a couple more factors that I'd like to discuss. Gunnar Nelson has fought 5 rounds once before. Ponzinibbio hasn't. So that would likely be, perhaps an advantage for Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson basically fought at home, not exactly at home, but he fought in Europe on a card that he was headlining and a card that he was heavily favored against an American by the name of Rick Story. Rick Story, good wrestler, but if anything, is just rugged. Rick Story went out there, landed something 140 significant strikes on Gunnar Nelson, completely battered him, won 4 of the 5 rounds, and they gave him a split decision win for Story. Shocking, but he literally had to go to Gunnar Nelson's backyard and whip him, and he did whip him. And when you kind of see that physicality and that ability of, can't take me down, so now we're going to stand. Okay, well, how about this? Pah! Okay, well, that hurt, but I mean, I ate it pretty good. It's like, oh, no. He could take my best punch, and he can stuff my takedown. His fight with Damian Mayo went 15 minutes. Impressive. He landed 2 punches in 15 minutes. He landed 2 significant strikes in 15 minutes. But that's him getting out-grappled. So can you out-grapple him? Yeah, but Ponzinibbio won't. Can you outstrike him? Yeah, maybe Ponzinibbio will. But there's passive victory there. And then last but certainly not least, Gunnar Nelson's notorious for being a training partner with Conor McGregor. But Conor's not there. And John Kavanagh, the head coach of SBG, he doesn't seem to be there. Oh, and Owen Roddy, your boxing coach? No, he's not there. So have you been doing your camp with SBG? If you did, nobody's there. Well, I'll move it someplace else. Okay, well, that doesn't seem like an ideal circumstance for a guy. So yeah, I think Ponzinibbio has a shot. The reason why I went in within a cash game is if it goes 5, I'm loading up. If it goes 3 hard rounds and one of these guys finishes the other guy and I get the finish bonus out of it, I'm still cool with it. It's cash. I was able to save enough money that I can afford both of them, even though Gunnar Nelson's a little bit overpriced in my opinion. But for cash game purposes, I'm not the biggest fan of doubling down, but I know people that generally make money on cash games, they do a lot of doubling down. And this seems like the kind of situation, 5 rounds, quick pace, takedowns, reversals, bombs, knockdowns, someone gets hurt. It screams that I wouldn't mind doubling down. You don't have to. If you're going to play multiple lineups, don't do it on every single one. But that's why I'm going to go with cash.
Yeah, and you would never want to do that in a GPP.
Never.
That is only a cash game play. Now, let's say I want to play a cash game and I don't want to do that. Sure. You've used Brett Johns and you have 0 left over, so it has to be below $8,900 if you want to do it.
Quite a few dollars.
What about Cynthia Calvillo?
Yeah, so Cynthia Calvillo, I like Cynthia Calvillo.
The rapid-fire version of Cynthia Calvillo.
Rapid-fire version is that she's been fighting professional for 2 years. So listen, she's the better wrestler. She should be able to get her down. She should be able to hold her down. And she got a good submission game. But Joanne Calderwood's from Scotland, and the fight is in Scotland. It's a high-profile fight. She's a lot bigger. She's strong. She trains at a TriStar. She stuffs these takedowns and literally just takes Calvillo into deep water. She's a former European Muay Thai champion. She could bust her up.
Okay.
It's a tight fight.
So would you go Calvillo or Willis? Who do you think has a better chance to win?
On a cash game or who I think is going to win?
Cash game.
Oh, Calvillo would be my cash game play. Just Willis is a heavyweight and he's a gigantic guy.
What about Bofondo?
Love Bofondo, but he's a GPP
and
a half.
All right.
He's fought one time in 4 years.
Khalil Roundtree Jr.?
Oh, he is all GPP. If
Okay.
you want him, all GPP.
So if you were to play this cash lineup that we're looking at right now, would you say it would be okay to take Nelson out and put Calvillo on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If you
didn't want to double up. I just want to give people a few options.
And listen, when I look at the betting line as well, I mean, I'm tempted on taking a play on Calder just because it's very, very mispriced, to be honest. She lost her last fight against Jessica Andrade, but it was Jessica Andrade, former world title challenger. I mean, there's no shame in that. Yeah, does she have trouble making 115? Yeah, she probably does. But as a result, when she does make the weight, she's really big for the weight class. And against Calvillo is just very green. She's green, but she's got wrestling. So if she goes out and she fights other girls who are in the same class, Bobby Cooper or a Pearl Gonzalez. Can she take down Pearl Gonzalez and submit her? Yeah, I don't see why not. Can she take down Joanne Calderwood? Yeah, okay, sure. But what if the fight goes 2 rounds? And what if it goes 3 rounds? And what if it's going hard? And the other thing, too, is actually Gabe, of all people, brought this up. And it's not a bad point, right? The fans in Scotland are rabid. When the fight hits the ground, they boo. And if you're getting booed on top, holding Calderwood down for dear life, and the ref says, come back up, you get up, Calderwood hits you twice, the place erupts. As we were talking with Gunnar Nelson, almost Robin Rick's story on the scorecards. It happens. This is the kind of case where, for the price, Calderwood could win this fight. So I try to stay away from Calvillo, even though she's got the tools to win this fight. She is very green. I do recognize there are some issues with her in her game plan. And yeah, I thought that the options I went with were probably the options I liked a little bit better.
Brett Johns, 9,300, most expensive player on both teams. How quickly is he going to win?
Well, you know what? Here's the thing with Brett Johns. When you're paying $9,300 for a fighter, you want to get a quick finish, right? He's actually had one fight in the UFC. It went the distance. You want to tell me how many points he averages?
118 and a half.
Yeah, 11 takedowns scored in that fight. The guy's a former judo world champion. He's a black belt. Not world champion. That's a lie. But he's a former, all... That's a lie. He's like a... Yeah, sorry. But he's like an all... he's Welsh. So it's like all Wales judo champion. He's a black belt. He's a high-level guy. He's also, I think, a brown belt in Muay Thai and like a purple belt in BJJ. He's well-rounded. Now, the thing is, when you watch his first fight in the UFC, oh, man, he wants to take down, he gonna get the takedown. If you get up, he going back down. It's crazy. He's just his tenacity. 11 takedowns, Pat. Think about that for a second.
It's a lot of DK points.
Yeah, and on top of that, when he's standing, it's not like he's just like, oh, throw 2 and get a hold of this guy. He's like, throw 10 and then get a hold of this guy. He lands some 60 strikes standing. But a lot of the time, he's taking Hanquo Quack down. Crazy name. But Quack's getting back up. And then he gets back up and he pulls him back down. In the third round, if you were thinking to yourself, yeah, but how does he deal with a little bit of adversity? Sometimes you like to see how does a fighter come back from bad spots. Clear domination's great and all, but what do you learn from that? Maybe he gets a little bit hurt in the third round, but not really. Shakes it off. Young kid, 25 years old. His dad, I think, was his first judo teacher. His dad's a judo black belt. He's been training judo since he was age 4, right? That's all he knows. When you look at his opponent here and you think to yourself, okay, with Morales is a kid that picked up the sport at 22 because he was, by his own admission, a street kid that was going to end up being incarcerated. So he gets up in a little California gym, and the guy can throw some heavies, and he's wily, and he likes to get in there. He gets a call, UFC debut, short notice. I'll take it.
No, this is it?
No. He takes it, and he gets a draw.
That's not bad.
Next fight in the UFC, high-profile one. I'll take it. Gets knocked down in the second round. Okay, you know what? Let's give him one more. Squeaks out a split decision. He's 1-1-1 in the UFC, and guess what? He's taking this one on short notice again. The other thing, too, is the last time I seen him on short notice, Alejandro Perez, his UFC debut, he starts out great in the first round. Second round, really not all that bad. In fact, his opponent loses a point. So now it's like, okay, he won the first round. His opponent lost a point in the second round, but he gasses in the third. Why is he gassed? Because he's on short notice. So now you have to factor that he's taking this fight on short notice, okay? He's a big 135er who has to cut the weight on short notice, and that's going to affect him. That affects him if he's fighting in America. If he's going to fight in Scotland.
If he doesn't make the weight, let's say.
No, he's one of those guys that'll miss by 2 pounds and the fight will go on.
And the fight will go on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, this is a weird time to start, isn't it? Isn't it like Sunday morning or something?
Something noon. Noon on Sunday.
Noon on Sunday?
Yeah. Listen, logic would dictate one of these guys is apparently going to pull out because it happens every single event.
Every time there's a weird start time for a UFC event, someone gets dropped.
Yeah, but in this case, I don't mind him. And listen, Morales is a scrappy, good guy, right? So when people think, well, we really need the finish out of Brett Johns, you don't really need the finish out of Brett Johns. When we see Morales on his back, especially that Perez fight in the second round, he accepts the position. He's really flat off his back. His shoulders are just basically flat to the mat. And then in such, he's not scrambling. He's not really trying to get up. Could he get up? Sure. In fact, we want the guy to get up so that he get taken back down by Brett Johns. So he is a high price tag, but this is actually a fight that goes perfectly with him. He was supposed to fight Subway boy Mitch Gagnon, the Canadian, and Gagnon pulled out like a week ago. So Morales has got to fly all the way to Scotland on short notice, make the weight. It just seems like a recipe for disaster.
What are the odds in the Danny Roberts-Bobby Nash fight?
Danny Roberts is the favorite.
By what, though? Like, how big of a favorite?
I think Bobby Nash is like a plus 170 underdog.
So it's probably like
220
minus
or something
250
like that.
for Danny Roberts?
Yeah.
I only mentioned this because you have the $7,100 Bobby Nash on both cash and GPP lineups.
Yeah, I think I put him on a bonus lineup too. Don't let that fool you. Bobby Nash will lock? No. But it's Bobby Nash for $7,100 have a shot to make this happen? Absolutely, I think so. Danny Roberts is a guy that I was very high on. In fact, Danny Roberts knocked out Judo Jim Wallhead.
Your boy.
Who's my boy? And people know. God, beat Cody's boy. But I liked him. But he kind of let me down in the sense that if you see the guy standing, he's got really sharp, technical, good, precision striking. On the ground, he's not bad at all. He's got a good submission game. He seems well-rounded. He comes to the UFC. He ends up picking up a huge win over Nathan Coy. My boy, again, beats two of my boys with a nice little triangle choke. It's nice. So now I'm thinking, sky's the limit for this kid. He's like 28 years old. He trains at the Black Zillion Gym, which was, very popular at the time in Southern Florida. And, he's actually killing it. He takes on Dominique Steele. Now, Dominique Steele, if anything, is just a big, strong, rugged guy. And so he gets the win, but the fight really left a bad taste in my mouth. Even though I had Roberts and I made money off it, it was bad, man. Like a bad performance where he gassed. His striking's not really, his power punching wasn't really as good as I thought, and he had no answers. He basically, I don't want to say gave up because he tried the best to win, and he did win. Wasn't a good performance. So now his next fight against Mike Perry. It's like, okay, Mike Perry's the guy, he's racist, got a tattoo on his face. But, you sleep on him and you end up sleeping.
Well, everyone ends up sleeping when they fight him, don't they?
Yeah, but he puts guys down. Well, he's not undefeated, but you know what I mean? He puts guys down.
When's the next time he's fighting?
He's got a big fight coming up, actually.
Feel like just anytime there's a DraftKings situation to play him, you play him.
You play him now, but it's one of those situations where now he'll probably be super high priced.
It's just like Tim Elliott.
But all the same, he goes out there against a tough guy, Mike Perry, and listen, he gives a good account of himself, but in the second round, he's starting to get tired, and Perry's just coming over, and he's bringing heavies, and then Perry completely separates him from consciousness in the third round. This guy's out. As a result, he's now sat on the sidelines for some 7 or 8 months, and now he's jumping back in the spotlight. Okay, that's great. Nashty Nash, meanwhile, Bobby Nash, this guy's a good wrestler out of Michigan, good wrestling state. He has a good pedigree, good fundamental skill set. He trains at Michigan Top Team. Now, Michigan Top Team is good because they're in a spot right now where they've just fed in guys like Cody Stamen to the UFC. Darren Cruikshank, we always see this guy competing at the highest level. But we're seeing people, Ronda Marcos. These good, rugged, wrestling-based fighters are coming out of this gym, and they're having a lot of success. He's 27 years old. He was undefeated. The UFC needs a guy last minute. They call him last minute. Do you want to take on Li Jing Li, who's gigantic? I'll take it. He shows up. He rocks Li Jing Li. He rocks him. Unfortunately, the guy don't go down, and then Li ends up rocking him back, and, he knocks him out. But he went hard. It was short notice. His cardio seemingly failing him a little bit, but he was trying to push through. He's got heavy hands. Not the most technical striker, but he's got heavy hands. He's got a good wrestling base. And I think on a full camp, if he can push the pace, then that's good. So when I factor in how does he match up with Roberts, well, Roberts has got good striking, but the power is kind of lacking, I thought. And we know you can control him off the fence. You know you can take him down.
Do you think
you can tire him out.
Do you think Roberts knocks him out?
No, I don't think so.
Do you think this goes all 3?
That's why I'm betting Bobby Nash.
Okay.
If I thought Bobby Nash would get knocked out, I would completely stay away. $7,100, when I look at the other fighters in his price range, I'm not really sold on them. I don't really see how they're going to go and pull out that big victory for me. With Bobby Nash, do I think Bobby Nash is able to finish Roberts? It's possible. This guy's a finisher. You look how he finishes his other fights. He'll knock you out. He'll submit you. But at this level, at a UFC level, maybe not. Second fight in the UFC, he hasn't had this 10-month layoff or a 7-month layoff like his opponent Roberts. And I feel with Roberts, since he's been knocked out, he's been knocked out. He's been dealing with that concussion. But also his gym's completely fallen apart. And now this fight's back in Scotland. So do you stay in America or do you go back home to the UK and train? There's just so many question marks surrounding him that when you see the price tag he has and you see people are still on the bandwagon, I think the wheels have started to fall off said bandwagon, and I'm off of it. But people still like Danny Roberts, and that's no big deal. But he's 30 years old now. He's not this blue chip prospect on the block. When he knocked out Judo Jimmy, Pat, that was some 4 or 5 years ago. Times have changed, and he really hasn't changed with those times. And I think I'm just going to take the younger, 27-year-old, more athletic, agile, and hopefully stronger guy in Bobby Nash. Could it blow up in my face? Sure. But with that price, I'm going to take that chance.
Leslie Smith, $8,400.
Yeah, Leslie Smith. Leslie Smith's another one of these people. If she gets the finish, great. If she doesn't, probably not a big deal. Her last fight, I think she landed 170 significant strikes, 169 significant strikes. She came into that fight priced at $7,100, scored 125 points, got a knockdown in there too, plus the decision victory. She is all pace. Oh my God, is this girl pace? She literally does not stop throwing punches. I saw the punch breakdown. It's like she landed some 50 strikes in every round. First round, second round, third round. She just completely swarms you. Now against Irene Aldana, that was a real test for her because this is a girl that very durable, Pat, but 34 years old. Been fighting for a long time. Former, Invicta title challenger, comes to the UFC, mixed success in the UFC, but she only fights the best girls out there. And you can't finish her. Cannot finish this girl. She'd been knocked out one time, and it's because her ear fell off, and the ref was like, super disgusting, gotta stop that. And you've never seen someone more upset in their life than when they were like, yeah, your ear's off. She's like, I don't care. They're like, oh my God. So then she does get knocked out. It was moving up a weight class, fighting Cyborg. Who doesn't get knocked out? Like, when you talk about game, it doesn't get more game than Leslie Smith. If Leslie Smith was born a boy, her name would be Court McGee, and she'd also fight in the UFC. Because just rugged, man. Rugged, infinite cardio, stays in your face, and just goes. So that last fight against Aldana, she's a big underdog. She's like a 3-1 dog. She goes out there against a pretty Mexican girl, great hands, good versatility.
That the UFC probably wants to win.
That the UFC certainly wants to win. Leslie Smith tried to set up a union one time. Didn't go well. But all the same, they want Aldana to win. And she goes out there and she put on a hell of a performance. Even when the one time she maybe got rocked in the second round, she probably still won the second round. In fact, she probably won all 3 rounds. Certainly 2 of the 3 rounds. Drops her. It was a career best performance for Leslie Smith. So even though she's 35 years old now, she's only just 1 fight removed from there. And we see she's training at an optimal level. She trains at the Scrap Pack, Gilbert Melendez, good training partners. I like Leslie Smith. Now you look at Lemos, her opponent. Now the issue is that Lemos is actually coming in on short notice. Lemos has no business being in the UFC. Doesn't, right? But you got...
She local?
She's Brazilian.
Oh.
Well, what happened was you got Leslie Smith is supposed to take on Lena Landsberg, right? Lena Landsberg is a Muay Thai champion and not very durable. So the game plan for Smith is take her into deep waters, drown this bitch. But you can't, right? Fight falls off. Well, who are we going to get? Now, Lemos, it's like, okay, well, maybe she's on some radars. She hasn't had a fight in a year. She's 30 years old. She's essentially Betchko Hea version 2.0. No, she's Betchko Hea version 0.5. She's not as good as Betchko.
She's AAA.
She's the poor man's version of Betchko Hea, right? But all the same, she's aggressive. She gets in the pocket. She has a startling looking record, undefeated. I think she's 6-0-1. The girl that she beat in her last fight was her best career opponent. That girl was 2-2-1. Now, you're flip side to that, you're looking at it. Leslie Smith has fought Sarah Kaufman twice. She's fought Cyborg. She's fought Barb Honchak. She's fought Jessica Ai. She's fought Irene Aldana. She's fought a host of the sport's greatest 135-pound fighters, and even the sport's best 125-pound fighter, Barb Honchak at the time. And yet, that experience against Lemos, who's never fought outside of Brazil, and the one time she got booked as a professional opponent in Australia, pulled out. And now she's been off for a year. So when you see tape on her, yeah, she's wiry, and she's got a little bit of speed. And I have no doubt that she's going to be a little bit faster than Leslie Smith. And she'll probably tag Leslie Smith early in the first round. But eventually you'll realize, she's taking everything extremely well, and she doesn't stop. And then last but not least, Lemos is not good up against the cage. I mean, you look at her last fight, she gets taken down a number of occasions. Once she gets taken down, she gives up her back quite easily. She almost gets choked out a couple times. The first time she fights this girl, they get a draw, right? The second time she fights this girl, she ends up winning with a 3rd round finish. But all the same, that was the highest level of competition she's had, and she struggled. Leslie Smith's just like all different types of level above that. So this is one of those cases where do I think Leslie Smith finishes? It's a possibility. But even if she doesn't, she's going to batter this girl pillar to post and get me the lot of points.
You're not banking on Neil Seary as an underdog?
Neil Seary's already announced his retirement, and traditionally,
that's something you want to pick on.
Traditionally, when you announce your retirement prior to a fight, you do not win. The only one I can think of in recent memory that did win was Mark Munoz, and outside of that, even people who were like, I was really thinking about this before the fight. Now I'm going to retire. It's like, why didn't I know that beforehand?
Well, who was it? The Cormier fight. What's his face? Johnson.
Yeah. Dude, if you had any idea that he was thinking about retiring beforehand, you would not have picked him, right?
No.
Because people who are sold on themselves, people who have the confidence that requires to fight at the highest level, they don't think, well, if I don't do good this time, I'm just going to call it a day and get into the marijuana business. It's like, what are you talking about, Anthony Johnson? This makes no sense. What are you talking about? All the same. Lots of entertainment delivered by that guy. So all I'm saying is when you got one foot out the door, it's difficult. Now, the thing with Neil Seary, boy, So it's hard to bet against your boy. But the reason why he was my boy is I used to watch a lot of Cage Warriors back in the day. He was their flyweight champion, and he would work a full-time, like 80-hour-a-week job in a factory, and then just like show up at the arena like 10 minutes late. Like, oh, I got it. Go out there and whip some European guy's ass. It was great times. Made it to the UFC, I was shocked. He was something like 35 years old when he signed with the UFC. And, loses to Brad Pickett off the get-go, wins a couple fights, and then really what we're noticing is that, like, you take this guy down, he's in trouble. His last fight against Haraguchi got taken down 6 times. He had very little answer once he was getting taken down. He lost all 3 rounds, and one of the rounds was a 10-8. But the guy can survive. He's a hell of a survivor. You look at other fights that he's had. Louis Smolka, he loses all 3 rounds, and in fact, one of the rounds is a 10-8. And he got taken down 6 times.
Well, how many of these other guys scoring points against him in these 3-round fights? He sounds like the perfect opponent if he can't stop takedowns.
He can't stop takedowns, right? And then
Can this other dude take down?
Oh yeah, dude, 100%. I mean, that's exactly why we're going with him. When you're thinking about Neil Seery, that's it. It's just like he's not exactly a great defensive wrestler. He's got good submission skills. He's got good striking, but as a whole, I don't know. Now you're looking at Alexander Pantoja. The thing with Pantoja is that he's been fighting professionally since he was 17. So now he's 27. He's got 10 years under his belt, but he's a BJJ black belt, and he's got good takedowns. And in his last fight against Eric Shelton, yeah, I mean, he came alive big time. He got the takedowns when he needed them. His back take is unbelievable. Once he gets on you, you're not going anywhere. And that's the issue. Seery's a scrambler. So when Seery gets in a bad spot, his best case of getting up is just explode and get up. Thing is, when you explode and get up, if someone is good at with the back take, they take the back, they'll backpack you. They'll put a body triangle on, and he can't go anywhere. He's had that happen to him. I think the same thing happens here with Pantoja. And Pantoja is another guy that also has been really focusing on his striking. I want to be able to go out there, and I want to be the most versatile guy that I can possibly be. Former RFA champ, he's got all the skills. And we see with that last fight with Sheldon, his striking is not bad, man. He's lengthy, he's got some range, he's smart, and in the 3rd round, once again, when your output in the 3rd round is superior than your output in the first 2 rounds, that really speaks volume about your cardio. This guy's in a good place in his life right now. He's got a good camp around him. He's young. He's hungry. He's coming off a season of The Ultimate Fighter where he was the number 1 seeded guy going into the house. Didn't win, but was the number 1 seeded guy. It almost feels like sky's the limit for him. He's the young up-and-comer. Seery, meanwhile, actually announced his retirement a year ago, but his retirement fight got canceled. So they booked him in a 2nd retirement fight, and it got canceled too. This is his 3rd retirement fight. He's admittedly has a body that's breaking down. He's getting a little bit older. You think he's 37 years old, but he's just got so many miles on his body. And by the way, he still works 80 hours a week at a factory.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, let's ask him right now, see how he's doing. Seery, are you going to win?
That's something I don't know.
You know what? That's
See,
why he's retiring. That's why he's retiring. He's like, oh, shit, I don't know if I'm going to win this fight or not. Listen, 2Tap is a great guy. I have nothing but love and respect for Neil Seery, but it's just a tough spot. If the UFC really want to give him that last hurrah, they give him a winnable opponent in his own backyard. Bring in a local guy that's making his UFC debut. But to say, well, we're going to bring you a top 15 guy who, we have high expectations for, it's just a tough spot. Can Seery win this fight? Yeah, but I think I got to go Pantoja. I wouldn't go Pantoja on GPP because I don't think he's going to finish Seery. Seery's very, very durable. And the other thing is, whereas we're talking about in Brett Johns' case, Morales will get back up and go back down. Seery probably won't get back up. And there's nothing more frustrating in the world, Pat, than when the fighter you had gets a takedown, ooh, I'm feeling good, gets a back take, ooh, and then just rides it out. Because the other guy can't do anything about it.
The Elias game plan?
You score almost
Hold down.
Yeah, but you score almost no points when you're on someone's back because you're not really battering them and you're trying to get this choke in, but it doesn't sit. And in 5 minutes of that, it just passes. It's like time passes you by. But I think he's safe, and I like him on a cash game. He could finish, sure. He could rack up some good points, sure. I don't think he's dead out of the water for his price tag.
But he wins.
Yeah. I think he wins, just not a great GPP play, I would say.
All right, for your GPP team, you're going with Johns, you're going with Smith again. Bobby Nash makes the card at $7,100. Ponzinibbio is on at 73. Jack Marshman is at the top at 92, just behind Johns.
Yeah, Jack Marshman is all power, man. I mean, listen, if this guy connects on you, you are going down. And that's what we're looking for in a GPP situation. I mean, he's from Wales, so he's going to have, at least not the hometown crowd behind him, but they will be cheering for him. And he's going to have relatives and family members make that trek over to see him. But literally, Pat, the guy's always fought the same way. He's a former Welsh boxing champion. I think he boxed in the Army a little bit. And when you see him in MMA, if you want to stand with him, bad things are going to happen to you. Thing is that people don't want to stand with him, so they start taking him down. So he starts working a lot on his ground game. He's submitting guys. Ooh, this guy actually can do it all. But he spent so much time working on his ground game that his striking wasn't really involving. He got caught finally. So the guy really thinks to himself, I got to be able to tie everything together. And to his credit, he's done a pretty good job at that. I mean, starting off in the UFC, he's got a tough fight. Magnus Siedenblad is a tough, durable, strong guy. To be able to go out there, not only just be competitive, but to show off some of that power, I mean, that's fantastic. His last fight, Thiago Santos, no one's expecting him to win this fight, and he doesn't win this fight, but he goes out there, he displays the enormous amount of power that he has, and he shows you, if you're a lesser quality opponent, he's going to take you out. When you look at Jack Marshman in this case against Ryan James, I like Ryan James, but that's mostly because he's from Vancouver. He's a Canadian boy. But he's 35 years old. He does not move his head. His striking is just so unbelievably rudimentary. What he falls back on is the fact that he's a BJJ black belt. But as a BJJ black belt, he got submitted in a minute and a half by Gerald Meerschaert, the guy that we tried to pick last week.
Did he win?
Against Meerschaert.
No, did Meerschaert win last week? He didn't, did he?
He's crushed out. Against Thiago Santos, the guy that Jack Marshman tried to give a good go to. Everything comes full circle, Pat. But all I'm saying is James is vaunted for his black belt in BJJ, and yet he gets submitted in a minute and a half by a guy who's not even a black belt. So that's a little bit tough to take. You look at his fight on the regional scene with Brendan Kornberger prior to signing with the UFC, and he wins the fight in the 4th round. But if that's a 3-rounder, I don't think he wins it. He completely gets his head bounced around. And then you look at his UFC debut, it's the same case. He gets a fight of the night, and it's all well and good, and it's a fun time. But he fights literally the worst guy in the UFC roster, and he gets completely smashed, gets the win, right? It's just really frustrating to watch. It's really hard to watch. But at 35, he's not getting any better stand-up-wise. He's just not going to suddenly wake up and be like, I'm going to move my head.
Put it this way. If he gets worked in this fight, is he a candidate to retire as well?
Yeah, more than likely, because his UFC record at that point would be.
Does he actually retire, or is he just not get another UFC fight?
Well, that usually leads to retirement. Think about it. Imagine you were getting paid $1,000.
But Anthony Johnson could have got another UFC fight. He just retired.
Yeah, but in this guy's case, if I'm 35 years old and I just from getting paid $1,000 on the regional scene to getting paid $10,000 in the UFC, now I get cut. I'm 36 years old. Am I going to go back and make $1,000? No, you're never going to go back. You work your way to the UFC. You get to the UFC. You try to take it as far as you can. And if it doesn't work out for you, that's the end of the day. If you're a young kid and you want to work your way back to the UFC, or you want to sign with Bellator, or you want to do all those things, that's well and great. But this guy's not looking to do that. This guy's a martial artist. He's looking to get fundamental martial art experience, real practical martial art experience. The best way to do that is to fight in the UFC and make a little bit of a name for yourself. But this is a really tough spot. You're taking on essentially the hometown guy who matches up with you extremely well, and he's a big, strong guy. Your wrestling's not all that good. Yeah, you're better on the ground than him, but how are you going to physically get him to the ground? So it's going to stay standing. He's going to try to use this long, lanky jab of his, and unfortunately, he'll do the same thing Kornberger did. Slip off, batter him. Only this fight's not 5 rounds, so he's not going to be able to come back late. And quite frankly, I don't think it goes 3 rounds. I mean, I think Marshman stops him, probably stops him in the 1st round. And for that reason, it's $9,200. I am taking the gamble.
At $8,600, this guy has maybe the best name I've seen.
Yeah.
Galor Bofondo.
Yeah, see. I don't know if it was Gaylord, because that's a real name, isn't it? Gaylord?
Gaylord is a name.
Right, so yeah. It looked to me like Galore Bofondo. Now, I've watched this guy fight a bunch of times for UC MMA, because it's one of the fights when we carry UC MMA at Fight Network. And what a head scratcher that he got signed to the UFC. It literally makes pretty much no sense. So, quick story on him. He's like a very traditional martial arts kickboxing champion. You see him move, and he moves wonky, man. Nobody fights like him, put it that way. Like, he just Wing Chun bullshit, kung fu kind of stuff, right? It's very, very strange. So in his MMA debut, he comes in, he's ripped, he's looking good. High expectations for him. He knees the guy in the head while the guy's on the ground and gets disqualified. So then he goes.
So that's why he scored 0 points per fight?
No, he's never fought in the UFC.
Oh.
So this is his debut. This is what I'm saying. This is what I don't understand, is that he makes his MMA debut and he gets DQ'd. Then he goes on a string. He's beating guys. And highlight real fast. I mean, 360 tornado kick. The kick hits the guy in the head. He's discombobulated and he just floors him with the left hand. It's like, whoa. Then he runs into this real crap, no-name opponent, 1-3. And he knees him on the head while the guy's on the ground and gets disqualified again, which... He's 4-2. Both of his losses are by DQ on fights that he kneed the guy on the ground. It makes no sense. So he's a wild man. He goes out there, and when he performs, he performs. He's entertaining. But he basically has had 1 fight in the last 5 years. He has not fought in over 2.5 years now. He's 35 years old.
Why are we taking this guy?
Because his opponent's just so bad. Oh, so bad. Charlie Ward is so bad that, we have to. Especially on a GPP. I'm playing him on a cash game, Pat. Let's be real. But, no, 100%. So Charlie Ward is opponent. But just to finish with Gaylor here. if he goes out there and he finishes guys fast. The thing is that obviously he's got to work on his takedown defense. I'm a little bit worried about that, but it seems like he's been working it out. He trains at London Shoot Fighters, which is a fantastic gym in the UK. I have no doubt he should be ready. He's had about 8 weeks to train for this fight, and it's a head scratcher that at 4-2, having not fought in 2.5 years, having one fight in the last 5 years, how could this guy possibly be signed to the UFC? Doesn't make any sense. Charlie Ward, though, if you think, this other guy's 4-2, that's a bad record. Well, Charlie Ward's 3-2. Well, this other guy, I mean, he's 35 years old. Yeah, Charlie Ward's 36 years old. It's just like, oh, well, Charlie Ward hasn't made his UFC debut yet, so bright lights. Yeah, this other guy has. He got knocked down in 56 seconds. It's just like nothing good is going here for Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward's got 2 things that make him infamous. And the thing is, neither of these things are actually good things, right? Number one, he's Conor McGregor's training partner. But what does that really mean? Does that make you good all of a sudden? You train with Conor McGregor? Second thing is he killed a guy in the ring one time. But does that really mean anything? Does that really mean you're some murderous power puncher? No pun intended. No, it's just the guy had a brain bleed afterwards and unfortunately died. I would never wish that to my worst enemy. I feel bad. But Charlie Ward's one of those guys that he's benefited a lot from the fact that all these news stories are coming out about the fact that Conor McGregor training partner kills a guy. That was the headline. And people are biting it up. They're eating it up. So he gets signed to the UFC and he's old and he's got no pro experience really. I mean, he's 3-1 at the time. What has he really done? He's fought absolutely nobody. And his fight prior to signing with the UFC against Gareth Williams was a bad fight. He almost lost. Then he comes to the UFC and he lasts 56 seconds. What was even worse than lasting 56 seconds is that he probably got knocked out 3 different times in 56 seconds. He gets up. Oh, he gets KO'd. Wow, the son of a bitch is up again. Nope, he's back down. He's Irish. He is tough. But all the same, what does tough really get you? So when I think about this, I think, okay, he actually does have better cardio than Bufando. He's got better cardio than him. And he likes to try to work that wrestling game. You can notice when you're looking at tape on him, he tries to get that wrestling game going, but he's not a wrestler. He's just a big, strong guy. He's big for welterweight, but he's got too much muscle on him. And having that much muscle, he can't really keep his hands high all the time. He can't really explode. The guy says, I've been boxing my entire life because my dad was my first boxing coach and he was like the neighborhood boxing coach. But he doesn't look like a boxer. He doesn't box with any type of technical proficiency. He's almost like he's a stick in the mud.
What are you talking about? His training partner is a pro boxer.
Yeah, apparently. And and there's tape of McGregor fighting this guy online. It's just like, I don't get it, man. He's very, 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 very herky-jerky. And he just throws punches from side to side. The concerning thing is that he's had 2 losses in his career. And he has been knocked out in both of those losses. He's 3-2. Both of his losses are by KO. The other guy's 4-2. Both of his losses are by DQ because he KO'd the guy and it wasn't really
so he might beat him up too much and get DQ'd?
You never know. I mean, clearly he's not the most sane guy. So the issue I have with this fight is that Bufando has actually not really been out of the first round. One of his fights went to round 2, but outside of that, he's at a kickboxing match that went 3 rounds, but it was 3-minute rounds. So it's really hard to gauge what the guy's cardio going to be like.
So we're just banking on him winning right away.
Well, he's a GPP.
Yeah, that's why we have him on GPP teams.
If he hits Charlie Ward and he hits him even half what flush, he hurts him. If he hurts him, he puts this guy away. So, yeah.
Bonus GPP team, we've already talked about 5 of the names. We talked about Marshman, Willis, Bufando, Smith, and Ponzinibbio. Why Paul Craig over Roundtree?
Yeah, well, we didn't really talk about Justin Willis, but all the same, this one is GPP and a half, and I'll just run through it really quick. But Marshman over James, come on, people. I mean, Marshman, if he's targeted to just go
We've
in
already
there,
been over this.
Yeah, redline him, knock him out, great, perfect. Justin Willis, $8,700. Justin Willis. We tried to pick against this guy like a couple months ago because he was coming in short notice, and I mentioned, this guy used to play, he was a lineman at the University of San Jose for the Spartans, and San Jose State Spartans. Anyways, he was a linebacker for them and a big guy.
San Jose State Aztecs.
So then it would be the University of San Jose probably.
No, San Diego State Aztecs.
Okay.
Now I'm all confused.
Well, anyways, the San Jose Spartans. Either way, he's
San Diego State Aztecs?
He's a D1 football player, and he's got some size on him. He trains with Cain Velasquez, Daniel Cormier at a great gym. The issue is that he walks around at 300 pounds.
That's a lot.
So when he took the fight on short notice, I had mentioned, I was like, he's not going to make weight.
He didn't make weight, did he?
No, he didn't. He got sick, and he pulled out. So it's like, crap. So now they're bringing him back again. It's like, okay, full camp, not short notice this time around. He's got the weight management under control. He's got all these things. Perfect. And when you look at his opponent, James Mullerton, I mean, this guy is just a local British fighter who's, one of those big former strongman guys. I've already used the term, but herky-jerky. He's got power, don't get me wrong. Willis is less experienced, but the rounds that Willis gets in the gym every single day with top-level guys, unless he goes out there and pulls an Aaron Pico and just completely lets me down, I think he's got a great shot here. Okay. And being that he's a 300-pound heavyweight, yeah, can he finish this fight? Sure. Other thing is Mullerton's got 1 career loss by knockout. So we're going to go with Justin Willis. Galore Buffando. Yeah, no, literally all of his fights are finishes,
Okay.
and this one should be no different.
You've already
Leslie
made-
Smith, not the finish, but it's
the points.
the point output. Paul Craig. This one really could go either way, but Paul Craig's cheaper than Khalil Roundtree Jr., so we're going to go with him. Here's the thing with Khalil Roundtree Jr.
I
This
feel like
guy,
we've taken him before, and he always loses.
by submission. Actually, we had him in no. Basically, in his UFC debut, he got completely thrashed by my boy Andrew Sanchez because he couldn't stop a takedown. On The Ultimate Fighter, he had fought, a former training partner of his and a friend of his, Corey Hendricks, who had no pro experience virtually. He was 3-1, I think. Not a good fighter whatsoever. This guy took him down and choked him out. You give him the benefit of the doubt, sure. Then you fight Tyson Pedro, and we picked him over Tyson Pedro.
That was on UFC Australia?
Yeah, he drops Pedro. Pedro
Gets up.
takes him down and submits him.
That was a good, Twitter gif.
So I was like, oh my God.
Was
Anyways,
Roundtree the one who, he had, this, was it the super, high kick to the face? Was it that one? I remember there was something from that card where someone just went nuts with some crazy, knockdown, and then he lost the fight later.
No, this is a nice, clean left hand. Puts him down. And listen, everybody that's ever seen this guy fight, they know he just embodies power, but he has literally no ground game. He should probably be kickboxing somewhere, not doing MMA. No doubt he's working on this stuff, Pat, but he's not a spring chicken, and we know that that's the blueprint to beating him. So in his last fight, he goes out there against Daniel Jolly, and we picked him here, and Daniel Jolly essentially just runs into a bad takedown attempt, gets kneed in the face, goes down. Wow, huge win for Roundtree. Roundtree's a tough guy, we know that. But once again, we know that if he goes to the ground, he's a fish out of water. Paul Craig is a big, strong, durable guy from Scotland, going to have the crowd behind him, and he's a submission grappler. He gets a hold of you, and he is able to get you to the ground, then he can submit you.
Can he get him to the ground?
Well, here's the thing. Anybody can get Khalil Roundtree to the ground. You just literally got to get your hands around him. The issue is, in order to get your hands around him, you got to come in front of him, and he will try to hit you. Can he knock out Paul Craig? For sure. But our friend, Adam Rubkowski's favorite fighter, Paul Craig. Why?
Red hair?
Named the Bear Jew. And this guy doesn't play around, He's all jokes aside. He's big, he's rugged. He goes in there, and he knows how to take care of business. He comes to the weigh-ins, dressed as William Wallace from Braveheart. He's wearing a kilt. His face is painted. You can never take our freedom! And the people get fired up. Khalil Roundtree, meanwhile, is just like, oh, this fight hits the ground. I'm screwed, right? And this is a bonus GPP team. So, real fast, if he can get the takedown, he can get the submission, then he's not going to be very played. I see no reason why he can't be a big scorer that's not going to be highly owned, right? You look at Ponzinibbio. He's the one on there that he needs to go those 5 hard rounds. But all the same, he's got more than enough time to score. And Smith, Buffando, Willis, Marshman, these are all big favorites. These are all big favorites that are, more or less earmarked to win this fight by finish. Or at the very least, rack up good points like Leslie Smith. So I look at this team, it's just like any other team. You need a couple good bounces, but if those good bounces go your way, it has potential to score big.
You could also take out Ponzinibbio and put Nash on this team, too, if you want to play 2 lineups.
Totally thought about that. The thing is, with Nash, I really think
you can just play both lineups.
Yeah, well, if you're going to play multiple lineups.
You like Ponzinibbio better, but you could play both lineups.
Well, this last one, I was just like, I'm just going for it. We're going to take the risk, and we're going to go for it. And then the only other thing is that you don't have the money for Brett Johns, who I do like, but all the same, this is more of a finish team. You're looking for literally those finishes, or in the case of Leslie Smith, beat her down. Score me those 140, 150, 160 significant strikes. Score me a knockdown. If I get 100 points off of her, which is $8,400, happy.
What's card next week?
Next week.
Is there a card next week?
Listen, you got to realize that I got Bellator Friday, which is tonight. There's Invicta FC is Saturday. And then this card falls on the Sunday. And then I get researching for the next bit. Oh, yeah. Also, Arthur Abraham versus Chris Eubank Jr. God, I don't. Arthur Abraham's my guy.
So what you're saying?
He's in for a rough beating.
UFC 214 is not next week, is it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so I don't think I'm going to be here next week, so
Yeah,
probably
there
no
you go.
show.
You're not here then the next 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, getting married.
There you go. We're going to have to miss that one show because I am going
You're going to be there.
Yeah, but I fly out a week early, so
Yeah.
I'd love to do a show from Halifax.
Yeah, too bad it's not UFC Halifax. We go cover it.
Oh,
But it is not.
media passes.
That already happened. Anyway, Cody Saftic, check him out on Twitter at CJ Saftic and on the Fight Network and on the MMA Report with John Pollock.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? You
John
can
Pollock!
catch me anywhere. Catch me on Twitter if you want to talk about Invicta. You want to talk about Bellator? Good times. I'll tell you what. You know what? We just talked about a full card of MMA. But if you happen to watch this before this card ever happens, John Salter, that's the play. Friday, Bellator, John Salter, baby.
And Pat Mayo. Follow me at the PME on Twitter. You can get the Roto Experts Premium Fantasy Football Package right now by going to rotoexperts.com/big deal. Promo code MAYO, MAYO, saves you 20% off that. The most accurate ranker in the business, not me, Jake Seeley. You can get all of his in there, plus Scott Engel and customizable projections. So go check that out and subscribe to the Pat Mayo Hour on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Podomatic, Audio Boom, Google Play, anywhere where you can either download videos or podcasts. You can check out the Pat Mayo Hour uncut, on demand, uncensored, always. I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck this week. I'll see you next time.